A letter to God. Poverty is the reality of our times. Millions of people all over the world die today because they have no access to the basic resources necessary for sustenance for the continuation of life. Be it food, water, shelter, you name it. Scarcity is an unfortunate truth that exists all around us. What do people do when faced with scarcity? They must, because they have no other option, turn to higher powers. You might be wondering what that means. Higher powers. Could it be God, the ultimate power that exists? Or perhaps it is the system that we live in, the humanity of those around us and those who rule. That counts as higher power. In Letter to God, that's the exact question Fuentes explores. Lencho is a simple and a hard-working farmer. He lives on a low hill in a valley from where he can see his crops and the river that feeds the farm. These are trying times for him. He looks up expectantly at the sky, hoping for rain. Confident that there is someone out there to look out for them, Lencho tells his wife at dinner that they will get rain. All the signs are there, and rain it does! In big, beautiful drops. Ones that Lencho equates with coins and wealth for his expectant prosperity. But all is not as well as it seems to be. Pretty soon, the rain stops. A big disaster ensues. Rain has given way for hail, and hail it does, in big hailstones that continue their assault for an hour. The result is utter destruction. Complete chaos. Lencho looks outside only to be greeted by a grim, pale, white sight. Everything appears to be covered in salt. There are no leaves left on the trees. His crop is destroyed. So is the garden, the hillside, and the field. Lencho despairs. The hail left nothing. Anything else wouldn't have been so destructive. Even a swarm of locusts. The truth for Lencho was evident. That year, there would be no corn. He spends the night in sorrow, worried that they were going to go hungry the entire year. But despite the despair, Lencho never gave up. He had a higher power to turn to. He would ask help from God, the same God that he knew, whose eyes saw everything, even that which one thinks deep in their own minds. God could judge conscience, a person's measure and sense of right and wrong. And Lencho decided to appeal to God on this. No one dies of hunger, just as help is always given in Hogwarts. What? How is this relevant? Is this a joke? Don't worry, it'll make sense. I promise. And so, Lencho writes a letter to God saying he and his family would go hungry without help. That help amounted for 100 pesos to sow his field and live until the next harvest. He addresses the envelope to God, goes to the town, places a stamp, and drops it into the mailbox. A postman sees the letter and laughs at it, showing the same to his boss. The postmaster, looking at the address, begins laughing too, but stops immediately. He gets serious and marvels at the faith one must possess to do something like this. A letter to God? Are you crazy or deeply devout? And so, having faced a dilemma like this, the postmaster decides to answer the letter. After all, how can he disappoint someone's faith? Hence, he opens the letter. He knows what to do. He raises funds to donate to the letter writer and himself contributes a part of his own salary for the cause. He raises just about a little more than 50 pesos and puts the money in the envelope and sends it across to Lencho. The signature reads, God. The following Sunday, Lencho arrives at the post office and asks if he has received a letter. The postman hands him the collected sum and the postmaster sits back, looking on with satisfaction of a man who has helped other in need. Lencho was not surprised that his letter to God had been answered. That was the strength of his faith. He was confident that his prayers would be answered. But when Lencho began counting, he realized it was far from the sum he had asked for, and in the process felt a rage creeping on him. God couldn't have made a mistake, could he? God would not have denied Lencho his request. The blame, therefore, fell squarely on the post office. Lencho goes to the window and asks for paper and ink. With furrowed brows, a sign of frustration and or deep concentration or focus, he finishes writing the letter and hammers a stamp on the envelope. Having submitted his letter, Lencho storms off. The postmaster immediately opens the letter and is surprised to see the angry vitriolic contents of the letter. Lencho has demanded the remaining amount from God. Not only this, but has also asked God not to send it through mail, calling the post office employees a bunch of thieves. A word to the wise now. The lesson tries to paint Lencho as a simpleton, a straight shooter, salt of the earth guy whose belief in God is so strong that he not only writes God a letter but isn't surprised to find a reply back. Not just that, he thinks God could do him no wrong, that God indeed sent 100 pesos and that the post office employees stole 30 pesos from him. Too good to be true? Because I think it is. Naivete is an interpretation of Lencho's actions. Naivete means immaturity, not fully understanding the way the world works. But pause for a second and think. Is anyone in this world so good and pure? To the extent that they believe God actually communicates with them? There arises, therefore, another interpretation of Lencho's actions. Cunning. Help is given to those who ask. Those that know this will ask. In order to fully appreciate Lencho's cunning, here is a small meme of sorts. I wanted a cycle, so I prayed to God for a cycle. But I know God doesn't work that way. So I stole a cycle and prayed to God for forgiveness. Lencho knew people would not be able to resist the plea of help, especially a plea that appears so genuine and innocent. And guess what? Right he is. His prayers are answered. Do you think he doesn't know it's not God that wrote back to him? Which means that his last reply isn't really a complaint to God about the post office. Rather, it is a sly dig at the post office for not being able to live up to its requirements. I don't know about you, but my head is spinning. As I leave, I want to ask you this. What does this say about faith to you? Can real, true, pure faith be had in this world? Or are you the pessimistic kind that would see faith as a perfect patsy to the subterfuge of deceit? Do let us know, and might I suggest keep Lencho in your prayers?